Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to our webinar on Careers of the Future. I'm Kavishan, your moderator for today's session. We are excited to introduce our esteemed group of panelists who would be discussing topics in their areas of specialization. We have Zahara Ansary, Country Head AICPA and CIMA Sri Lanka, Conrad Dias, Chairman LOLC Finance and LOLC Technology, Yasaara Kaluaratchi, Director Academics CHE, Dr. Rohantha Athukorala, Director APIIT. This webinar is co-hosted by CIMA Sri Lanka and Yasaara Technologies Private Limited with Daily FT as the media partner. I'm sure you know about CIMA as it's almost a synonym for success in Sri Lanka and globally. So this is for everyone who would like to know a bit more about CIMA, the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants.
Do you want to know how you can get the CIMA qualification faster? Join CIMA through the CGMA Finance Leadership Program, a self-paced digital learning and assessment platform designed to ensure smarter learning and faster success. Discover the power of opportunity with the fastest route to completing the CIMA professional qualification at an affordable price and at double the speed.
Great. So that's about CIMA. As you all know, AICPA, CIMA together has advanced the global accounting and finance profession through their work and their candidates who are engaged in as professionals in 196 countries and territories. So we'll be talking more about CIMA because we have Zahara Ansary with us, our first speaker on this session. So Zahara, welcome to the webinar. Just to talk about Ms. Zahara Ansary, she is the country manager of CIMA Sri Lanka and Maldives and is a management accountant turned strategic marketer with over 18 years of work experience across banking, BPO, telecommunication, and professional education, and has worked at NTB, WNS Global, and Bharti Airtel Sri Lanka. She's a fellow member of CIMA and holds an MBA from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and is a project management professional of PMI USA. Hi, Zahara. Are you there?
Hi, Kavishan.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, to talk about your topic on reimagining careers, Zahara. So we all know that the pandemic revolutionized the delivery of education. So what do you think? Will it go back to normal where it's all physical, or is online education here to stay and is the future of education? What are your thoughts?
A lot of things have changed over the last couple of years. And for sure, it's here to stay. And in fact, it's going to evolve as well. We've seen a lot of changes happening, not just in our own country, Sri Lanka, but across the globe. And these have been good practices. Yes, having just finished the World Women's Month, Women's Day and all of that month, we've realized that accessibility to technology is not freely available across board, mainly to women and to certain parts of the world, but it's here to stay. EdTech, online education, this is the way forward because a lot of people have understood the benefits and the flexibility in using technology to study rather than having to, spend their time and go and sit in a physical class. In fact, when you look at CIMA students, most of them now opt for the online version. I know in Sri Lanka, we love, the whole, the getting together with people, the social skills and all of that. Yes, that would take place to some extent. But most of them also are conscious of the cost of traveling, the time spent on traveling and all of that. So yes, research also says it's here to stay.
Great. And talking about the institute that you present, CIMA, how has CIMA helped students in the past 3 challenging years? Because I'm sure it was a trying time for the students, the parents, and the educators and the institutions as well. So how did you cope up with this challenge for the past 3 years?
Okay, so initially we were a lot more prepared because once it was, starting off in China, our management started noticing and we were very, very proactive. So one of the things I also have to share, Kavishan, is that AICPA and CIMA is a very innovative organization. We use technology quite a lot. In 2017, when we tied up with the American Institute of CPAs, that's the AICPA part, we brought on a lot of technology in further. So we were the first to get into computer-based examinations. And during COVID time, we realized no one could walk around. I mean, no one could go around because of the lockdown. So we started online proctoring for exams. So anyone could follow the classes from home itself and they could sit for the exams. And one of the best things that this organization opened up globally, up until then, it was only available in the US, was the CGMA FLP program that you just saw an advert of. So that's a platform which is completely different from the typical way of doing CIMA, because if we had 16 exams in the typical CIMA route, the normal route, this has the entire learning on a platform which you can access on your phone, tablet, laptop, wherever you are, in whatever way you want. Absolute flexibility, real edtech. And you could just sit for the 3 case study exams because all the other exams were getting covered on this platform called FLP. We launched it, we launched the exams, and we saw immense uptake. So, touch wood, it has been like growth for us, although it was a very challenging time across board. We helped our students, not only allowing them this platform at a discounted fee, we provided free revision, we gave them free resits to sit for the exams, we delayed our subscriptions and all of that. So we really took it on board to help, because them progressing is key for us, because end of the day, these are the people who would go on to businesses as the trusted business advisors, and the businesses needed them as well, more than ever. Because we as management accountants, we don't just look behind, we look forward, we predict, we forecast, we bring on the best into business, and we take things forward. So we wanted to continue our support to our members, to our students, and all of that. And we also focused a lot on emotional and mental well-being of our fraternity of members as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Just I'm just thinking, I'm putting myself in school leavers' shoes here, just to get an idea. Okay, because I know, like, we have so many colleagues, we have top of our corporate leaders who are CIMA qualified. So one would think, what is this? Why should I do CIMA? What are the career aspects that I have and all? Just give us a brief. Why should one take up CIMA, and the duration and all, if possible?
Okay, if you can give me about 3 to 4 minutes, can I run through a couple of slides? Because I don't want to only push CIMA here, but I would want to give the parents here and the students an understanding of how the world is moving. So let me quickly share.
Yes, please.
A few slides in a story style, because that's what we do best, management accountants. Right. So most of us, if we are going to be thinking like, okay, things are going to go back to normal, and the jobs of the past are going to be around for long, well, we're going to end up like this. We need to now focus on 2023, and then 2025, 2030, and beyond. We might not be able to see the future, but we must know how to get there. So there are a couple of aspects that I actually wanted to share today. One is that there are lots of things changing outside in the world, starting from geopolitical realignments. We all know what's happening, right? There's the petrodollar is going to go away someday. It could even be like, a sudden thing, because they make decisions that, de-dollarization is now eventually happening. We as students, we as professionals going into the workforce, we need to be aware of this. There's lots of regulatory complexity, technology coming in, which I'm sure Conrad would touch upon, and financial challenges, recession, inflation. It's not just us, right? I'm sure all of you know that even in the UK and certain parts of the world, there is scarce resources even in the supermarkets. We were not the only ones who were lacking the food items. Workforce changes. So many things are changing out there. And before you make a decision towards your career, you will need to take into account these as well as technological changes. It's not a must that one person needs to go into probably pure IT, but you could do a qualification, academic or professional, that would cover aspects of digital skills and IT, because employers, when they look to recruit you, they would want effective people who'd have this knowledge as well. I will be referring quite a lot to World Economic Forum, so you can also do up your own searches. So this is what they say are the risks for businesses and people in the next couple of years as well as the next decade. And if you may notice, a lot is red and green. So red are the societal ones and green are the environment related ones. And I will tell you why quickly. So skills that are needed to adapt and thrive in today's work environment has definitely changed, and organizations are also reimagining how they work. And we need to be prepared for the future. So when I did my research in preparation for this webinar, I realized that in around 268 million jobs were analyzed, and 1 in 8 of them had these 4 skills: AI and ML, cloud computing, product management, social media. These were said to be the top critical skills for the future. So these are not the only ones, if at all, but these are the top ones. So if you are embarking on a career, you'll need to be mindful that you have at least some of these with you, and they pay well as well. And the future is one where it's not just, technology that runs it, but humans and machines working together. Some of the top jobs that were seen in terms of 2030 and beyond are the ones that you see on screen. And I'm sure you don't see the usual kind of roles that we are so used to in the past. Some of these, you may not even make sense of it yet, but if you actually go and Google it, you will realize why we need people like algorithm bias auditors when we use so much of AI. And cyber calamity forecasters. We saw a lot of green earlier, right? So the number of social and green jobs needed are exponentially increasing. The green jobs, those are increasing by about 60%. And the social jobs include jobs like healthcare and so on as well. And when you consider EdTech, I think I've already given a couple of examples there earlier to Kavishan, but these are the skills that will be needed and will be pushed through the new types of education. And this education comes not in the normal way that we are so used to, that we go into a class or a uni or a college and we just go study, in our sense, no, that's not going to be the way forward. I'm sure some of you may be thinking, okay, ChatGPT is there, it's going to sort out our assignments, but no, there are technologies to now even manage what comes out of that if there is plagiarism done. So it's more of a plug and play model, but we also are looking at creating on-demand content, and this is the way forward. So CGMA FLP was one of the best examples. There are enough and more certifications out there. If you're right after O-level or A-level having a gap, please use that time wisely. As for AICPA and CIMA, so if I'm to give a little bit of detail there, we are the largest professional accountancy body in the world. We're across 196 countries. Our skills, Kavishan asked me this question, so our skills encompass all of this. We even have digital skills included within our syllabus. So anyone who goes out into the world will be an overall management accountant, a business leader in the making. As you can see, Conrad here is one of our members as well. And if you take most of the top 20 companies in Sri Lanka, most of them are led by CIMA members. We had 16 exams in our exam structure, but like I said, if you come through the FLP route, you'll only be sitting for the 3 case study exams, and that encompasses all of what you see on screen. Even things like ESG, which is like the buzzword right now, those are also covered within syllabus. So for those of you looking out for careers, look out for these kind of areas, because this is what's happening in the world, like I spoke about earlier. So summing up, look into the world trends, have an idea about technology, how it changes, undertake a qualification that covers that as well, the digital skills aspect. Ensure that you have some of the critical skills that we discussed, and of course, don't waste any time. in between maybe exams or even while you're in school. For example, CIMA can be done by anyone above 16 years of age. And we've made things so much more simplified, easy with the FLP platform. But the rigor of the qualification yet remains. And if anyone wants my slides, please feel free to reach out or connect to me on LinkedIn or Facebook perhaps, and I'll be happy to support as well. This one I had to talk about, Kavishan. So the opportunities that are available with CIMA are not just in Sri Lanka, but across board, but that does not mean everyone has to go overseas. They can always find enough and more jobs here. In fact, our top employer is MAS, second was John Keells, and our third is Central Bank of Sri Lanka. I think I'm going to stop there. Back to you, Kavishan.
Great. Thank you very much. And we have a few questions as well. So I think we have a Q&A session as well. So please, when you have any doubts or clarification, please key in your questions and we'll take them one by one at the end of the session, so we don't disrupt the proceedings of the session. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zahara. That was very insightful. So anyone above 16 can go for it, get those skills, get those critical skills, because it's tech-based, cyber-based, as you said, cyber calamity analysis, or it was so much of insight there, so much to look into in the future. And what intrigued me again was the digital skills included in the syllabus, and even the ESG. So we also come through it, the environmental, social, and governance, is it? So that's also embedded in the syllabus. That's awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, that's CIMA for y'all, and what the future will look like and how you can equip yourself with EdTech embedded in the whole thing. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zahara. Great. And just a reminder that this webinar is co-hosted by CIMA Sri Lanka and Yasaara Technologies Private Limited. Talking about Yasaara Technologies, it is the premier fintech company in Sri Lanka, connecting over 27,000 users from the schooling and higher education community, including students, educators, administrators, and parents via their 3 technology products: Talkative Parents, Conta, and EduLoan. Yasaara conducts corporate social responsibility projects in collaboration with partner educational institutions like this for the benefit of the parents, students, and the educators, including programs such as webinars, as what we are conducting today, podcasts discussing contemporary topics with renowned speakers from the education segment. Great. So with that, we move on to our second speaker, another prominent character in the corporate world, Mr. Conrad Dias. He's a director at LOLCholdings and chairman of LOLC Finance and LOLC Technology Limited. He's also the founder of AICPA and founder of OES, another fintech platform. His contribution in the field of ICT has been recognized by way of several awards. And there was a list of awards where he asked me to summarize this. So I go as several awards categorically. And he's also identified as one of the CIMA top 50 icons in the year of 2021. Welcome to the webinar, Mr. Dias.
Thank you very much. Thank you for CIMA and Yasaara Technologies for inviting me. It's my pleasure being here.
Great. So Conrad will be talking about what technologies and going beyond technology. The corporate world has evolved so much over the years from the traditional manual and these analog processors. How important is technology in today's corporate world and for future careers as well? It's about tech.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope that there are young students who are aspiring to be leaders in this country. And I think you all are the future of this country, and you all have to take a bigger role in coming years to bring this country to the next level, as we are facing challenges, not only locally, but globally. Also, we are facing challenges, but I think the generation to come is the future generation, is the who will determine this country's future. So when it comes to technology, as we all know, the technology is becoming everything, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's in our corporate life, or whether it's in our careers. As we saw during the pandemic, we have to adopt technology for the mere purpose of survival. whether again it's even as a little as Montessori students, kids who adopted technology, or there were Montessori classes were held using technology like the Zoom technology as well. And then in our personal lives to survive and to order our food, to order our essentials, the necessities, we have to adopt technology. And then in our corporate life, in order to carry out our businesses and to bring the resilience into the organization, we have to adopt technology without any doubt. And if the organizations which fail to adopt technology during that period is at a question mark point, and sometimes they were forced to close down, or they were not able to sustain their business models or the businesses. And therefore the technology, or the digital technology especially, has become part and parcel of every day of our life, whether it's in personal or corporate life. So today, if you really look at it, we are living in a more challenging world than even the pandemic situation, especially from a corporate perspective. If you look at currently the entire global economy is facing challenges due to, I think Zahara touched about the geopolitical issues and the issues that which are facing with regards to the recession, the global recession, and the pressure on the dollar, which are all economic factors which are affecting. So for that, if you really look at as an individual or as a corporate organization, the challenge is how can we do more with less? Basically increasing our productivity, because when the productivity is the challenge component, one of the challenge component in whole of this economic calamity. So to increase the productivity, adopting of the technology has become one of the key most important thing to do more with less, or increasing the productivity. So today, every organization moving from digital being used as a resilient product in terms of to build resilience during the pandemic. Now it is used as an imperative or everyday requirement of the organization, and trying to adopt technology. Every CEO, if you interview 10 CEOs, 9 out of 10 will talk about, no, we need to adopt digital and we need to be technology-driven organization. So, if the organizations are required technology, I'm sure the individuals, which is a organization is a organization built up of individuals and the people and the careers around it. So whether it's marketing, sales, human resource, or accountant, or administrators, or CEO, or a director even, the technology becomes an imperative to carry out their day-to-day jobs in today's context. So there are various, whether the technology can be used as an enabler, meaning to do their job better, or whether it is enhancing their job, and whether it's a job itself. Zahara talked about many technology things, or the technology-related job transformations which are happening, the data-driven, data-centric driven, data science-driven, AI-driven jobs that which are being demanded, and even the social media-driven jobs that which are being demanded by this change which is happening around us. So I think as individuals, as a career aspiration individuals, so you need to adopt technology. That is the most important thing. You need to find, you can't ignore technology as an individual, as we know that everyone is using technology into their day-to-day life. So how can we need to think about, how can we use in improving our productivity in our corporate life. So it's very important when you're choosing your future career and future studies, it's very important that you choose something that which at least have some form of appreciation of technology, just like CIMA, where they have included into their curricula in terms of part and parcel. I think I can remember when I did CIMA long years ago, even long years ago, I can't tell the years, then everyone will know my age. So at that time also, information technology was a subject. It's a completely a separate subject which we have to study as IT, as a study long years ago. I'm talking really long years ago, right? So that's the level of appreciation that CIMA had for technology. So similarly, today they're talking about the data science. There are specific courses, specific studies available under the CIMA flag as well, in terms of updating your knowledge. And the knowledge updation today is knowledge, in my view, today the knowledge with the web and the other courses available on the web, it has democratized to a greater extent. So the knowledge is available. It's an attitude that we need to build as young students, that we need to choose that different paths and different acquire the knowledge is the attitude that we need to bring to ourselves. So that is what it's all about. I can go on, but I think with the limited time, I think that I have to.
That was actually, it was a question of mine as well for you, Conrad. Like, how can youngsters equip themselves to fit into this tech-dominated corporate world? I think you touched upon that as well. So thank you very much on those insights. And when you say that when you were doing CIMA, if technology was a base product, and I think we can relate to Zahara's thing as well, when she talks about 2030s to 2040s, we know that the CIMA is also a very future thinking kind of an institute which embeds these futuristic aspects in their curriculum. So thank you very much. So I want to ask a very, it's a trending topic these days, a very interesting question from you. Everyone talks about ChatGPT, OpenAI, okay, and that's the talk of the town. And I also read an article recently that it will be replacing so many jobs in the world. I think they had recognized 300 odd job roles, which will be automated through OpenAI. What are your thoughts about this? Have you come across these kind of things in the past as well, when technology was up and coming? And how do you see this as a challenge to the future generations and the careers?
I think this is now the biggest buzzword. I think that ChatGPT is the buzzword that everyone all over around the world, right? So, which is I think, just to give some definition to this, I think this is related to the field of artificial intelligence. And those who don't know the terminology on the what GPT means, stands for generative pre-trained transformer. Basically, it's a technology, deep learning technology, or a neural network technology, which is used in AI models, where that you train a model to answer based on certain data which is provided, or trained with certain data to answer like a human question, right? So, as we all know, every technology, I think in the recent past, I think 2-3 days ago, I think a week ago, there were a few open letter also on controlling this AI and the ChatGPT request for controlling this, because it's harmful and it might have a lot of harm into the human nature or the humanity. So there were a lot of debates about it. So I think let's look at from a technology in a more open perspective, right? So every technology has a good, bad, and the ugly part of it, right? So if you take nuclear technology, right? So and every innovation has good, bad, and ugly, right? So the nuclear technology, you can use nuclear technology for massive destruction of the humankind. At the same time, it can be used in a nuclear medicine to detect early detection of many diseases at very early stages and cure them, right? So it's up to us as the knowledgeable human beings how these advanced technologies can be used and for what purposes. So I believe that everyone wants to do greater good than greater bad. So in that sense, I think if we can, all of us as youngsters, adopt these technologies into doing the greater good, I think it will do greater good for the humanity. Just talking about a little bit about the ChatGPT, I think it has immense potential for the humankind, probably becoming your personal assistants of tomorrow, if you put it right, and if you because as you know, the knowledge acquisition is becoming a challenge, and we, especially for, I know, the young students, we all are students in this journey today, because the learning is never going to stop, and we all are students in a way. But as the younger students, younger generation students, or the people who are aspiring to be the next generation leaders, needs to adopt these technologies as well, especially the ChatGPT. If you look at the early stages, I'm sure as students we have learned a lot using the technologies like what is available on the internet, right? So internet has become a massive source of knowledge. Yes, it has the bad side and the good side. Even if you look at the social media, you can use it. There are social media related deaths and the kills also. But at the same time that we know a lot about what's happening in the world, what's happening in the other side of the world, instantaneously because of the technology that which is there. So similarly, the ChatGPT, if you put it to the right use, I'm sure it's a skill that you need to learn. Sometimes they think that the ChatGPT is something that you can just ask a question and get the answer. But in my view, how you prompt your question is another learning that you need to do if you want to really get the real answer. Because ChatGPT is not it's a database of information. It's how they prompt it, how you prompt for an answer is something that which that gives you the better answer. So the prompting is another technological learning that you need to learn, as opposed to just asking a question. So the way that you ask the question from the ChatGPT will give you different answers, right? So whether you want to do a professional response or a simple response from a simple individual. So in my view, the ChatGPT is going to be everyone's assistant. In today in LOLC, since I come from an LOLC group, and I'm driving the technology there as a transforming agent in terms of the entire group. When ChatGPT came to the market, generally the organizations have tendencies to block all these risky things, right? So we allowed all the employees to explore the ChatGPT, because we believe the knowledge employees and the people who with a higher organization, which I call it the higher digital dexterity, meaning the digital knowledge will be much more important than the people with a lesser digital dexterity or digital knowledge in the organization level. So therefore, I think it's very important that you start using them, and probably it will become your virtual assistant for you to do any job, whether you are an accountant or a marketeer, whether you want to do anything. I think anything in your career enhancement, I think it will go hand in hand, because with the knowledge availability, it's very difficult for you to have everything on your own. So your brain and your self should be used in terms of more thinking driven job and a decision making job rather than something to find, right? So I think it will be a great tool in your careers. I think as students, you need to learn how to use it for better rather than for worse.
Exactly. Thank you very much for those words. It was the exact words that we were looking at as well. Thank you very much, Conrad. A reminder again to the audience, whenever you have a question or a clarification that you need from a speaker, please key in your questions. And if possible, because we'll be looking at the questions towards the latter part of the session, because we have a Q&A session separately. If possible, please mention the speaker's name as well, who you're directing it to, so it will be easier for us to identify and direct that questions towards the speaker. Thank you very much, Conrad, on those words. Great. And just another reminder that This webinar is co-sponsored by CIMA and Yasaara Technologies. And now let's educate ourselves on another novel concept by Yasaara Technologies. EduLoan is Yasaara's fintech platform, connecting parents and students with multiple financial institutions, facilitating requests for educational loans in 3 simple steps. Let's see how you and I can be benefited through this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is EduLoan for you. I think it's a timely need in the current context. Thank you very much for Yasaara Technologies for coming up with these novel concepts. And we would like to thank Daily FT again for the media partners for this webinar and that media publicity and for this. We move on to our next speaker, Yasaara Kaluaratchi. Yasaara has over a decade of experience educational field as an educational psychologist and a senior lecturer. She's a co-founder of Prospects College of Higher Education, also known as PCHE. She was a unit author for the Bachelor of Psychology program at the University or the Open University Colombo. She has a master's degree in educational psychology from Coventry University, UK, and is currently reading for her doctorate in education at University of Derby, UK. Hi, Yasaara, how are you?
Hi, Kavishan.
I believe that you'll be taking us through psychology and early childhood education. So just to start off from scratch for the benefit of the audience who are school leavers, university students, what is psychology?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank Yasaara and CIMA for inviting me for this webinar. I'm sure it would be quite informative for the students and parents to explore different career opportunities. So yes, psychology is a growing area in Sri Lanka. So to give an introduction about psychology, it comes from the Greek word psych, meaning life, and logos, meaning explanation. So psychology is the study of the human mind and behavior. It explores how we perceive information, regulate our emotions, communicate, intrapersonal skills, which is knowing about yourself, and interpersonal skills, the ability to understand people better, to name a few areas. And learning about mental disorders, of course, is something that is covered under psychology, where we learn about therapies and how we help people overcome these challenges. So in terms of the career paths available, I would move on to that.
Yes, please, Yasaara. Because now that we know about psychology, what can a student expect after graduating? Because one might think that it's only a clinical psychologist kind of a career which is available for the students. But what are the other avenues available for the graduates? Yeah.
Sure. So for an aspiring psychologist, there are many areas that you can, apply psychology to. So globally, it is considered as an essential career, especially after the pandemic, as many people need psychological counseling. And as I mentioned, psychology is the study of the human mind. So wherever humans are involved, psychology is needed. So for example, as you mentioned, a clinical psychologist is the most common and the most popular type of psychologist. So a clinical psychologist provides mental and behavioral health care for individuals who may have mental health problems. But apart from that, in contrast, a business psychologist would help a company recruit the most suitable employee or develop wellness programs for existing employees and look at the overall development of the organization. And then moving on to a child or developmental psychologist would work with children and adolescents with any behavioral or psychological intervention programs. And also an educational psychologist like myself would work in a school or a university to make the learning environment and learning techniques more conducive for the students. So likewise, there are ample opportunities for students to explore in the field of psychology. You have the question regarding clinical psychologists, whether the clinical psychologist has to be a registered psychologist. So if you enjoy working in a clinical setting or a hospital, then yes, to work as a clinical psychologist, you have to be a registered practitioner. However, it is not mandatory, not a mandatory requirement for a field such as a business psychologist, or you can work in marketing as well with a undergraduate degree in psychology. So the requirements change according to the country. So in Sri Lanka, it's still a growing field, and the most popular career is the clinical psychologist, where you need at least a master's qualification. Whereas in countries such as Australia, with a bachelor's degree, you can work as a social worker in family support, elderly care, and these jobs are high in demand.
Great. This is for psychology, is it? Early childhood education is also a subset of this, Yasaara, or how does that go? And what is early childhood education?
Yes, early childhood education is, I would say, child psychology is part of psychology, but
right.
Early childhood education per se is a different subject area.
Right. Okay.
So basically, it's the time period of a human being's development from birth to 6 years, and it's the most crucial developmental stage. So early childhood educators or preschool teachers are also known as brain architects. So as they play a crucial role in facilitating the brain development of a child. However, there is a lack of recognition provided for early childhood educators in Sri Lanka, but it has changed over the years, and we see more early childhood educators are keen to have a bachelor's degree or continuously develop themselves professionally due to the opportunities that are now available. Globally, it is a career which is highly sought after. For example, in Australia, it is one of the highest paid jobs, and it's high in demand in all of the states, across Australia. So you don't have to limit yourself to being a preschool teacher or educator with a bachelor's of early childhood education. So there are careers available in child protection, not-for-profit organizations, and social work. The earlier speakers talked about artificial intelligence. So it is predicted that AI is replacing 85 million jobs by 2025, according to the World Economic Forum. However, research indicates that both psychologists and early childhood educators will not be replaced because that human element, or humans need to take on these roles, and the demand will continue to grow globally.
Great. Thank you, Yasaara. Thank you very much. And I think PCH is doing a great job giving out these opportunities for the youngsters to equip themselves with these highly demanding, with the occupations which are highly in demand, which is demanding as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll come back to you again in the Q&A session. So again, the audience, a gentle reminder, if you have any questions, please key in those questions and mention that it's directed towards Yasaara for any of those in the lines of early childhood education or psychology, and she'll be glad to help you.
Thank you.
And now, yeah, thanks, Zahara. And now we move on to the last lap of the session. We have speaker Dr. Rohantha Athukorala, who will be talking to us about, I think, personal branding. He's a personal brand himself. Athukorala is the regional president, CEO of the Microsoft-owned global artificial intelligence company Clue-Tracking for Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Pakistan. He's also the strategic lead of Swadeshi Industrial Works PLC. He's a board director of multiple private sector companies in Sri Lanka. And because of his love for education, I think he's a director at APIIT as well. And talking about his accolades, he has won the Best Marketer awarded by CIMA twice, Business Achiever Award by PIM Alumni, and also the Abdul Kalam Award for Outstanding Leadership in the state sector. He has a double degree in marketing, MBA, and a doctorate in business. and he's alumnus of Harvard University. Hi, doctor, are you there? Are you ready for the final lap?
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for the invite.
So just to start off this, and you'll be talking about personal branding, who else is better than you to talk about personal branding itself? Just shall we start off from the mistakes? So what are the key mistakes that people make in personal branding that you see?
Thanks, Kavishan. I just prepared a few slides. Is that okay if I can share?
Yes, sure.
I need to have the right to share.
Yes. Let's get the technical team to arrange that for you to
Okay.
share.
Done.
Great.
Done.
Yeah.
So,
yes, we see your screen, sir.
see, I think it's very important. Yeah, can you see?
Yes, we can see
So,
this.
yeah, I think it's very important, this particular area in your career. The reason being that, you know, what is your personal brand? It's a process of developing a mark that is created around your name. And if you don't create this mark, then, you know, the speakers who are invited today, you know, you have Yasaara, you have our CIMA lady, then you have the LOLC top end. Why were they picked up? It's because they have made a mark around. Even if you take Kavishan, why Kavishan picked up to come and host this show? It's because he has made a mark around him. So if you don't make a mark around you, you know, what happens is that you have over the time developed a fantastic product, but people don't know you, you know. And there are two things here. There is a thing on how you see yourself and how others see you. Now, this is something very important that a youngster must know, because end of the day, if you just look at most of these employers today, when they look at your CV and they want to get a better understanding about you, they might go to your Facebook. And sometimes once they go to your Facebook or your LinkedIn account, mainly Facebook, you know, you don't recruit that person after that because of the things that you host there. So there is how you see yourself and how others see you. So, you know, you spent so much time, you've done brilliantly at school, O-level, A-level, maybe you guys have got into university, you know, got up at 2:33 in the morning, studied, you know, if you're a sportsman, you may have trained for 8-9 hours a day to become a top sportsman in Sri Lanka. Maybe you have gone to the global level and got yourself, you know, at world stage, maybe you're world ranked. But then what's the point if you don't made your mark properly? So go back to your Facebooks, go into your Instagram accounts and ask whether, is that what you want other people to see you? Are you that person that other people see you? Are you the real person? Is that the same person that you actually are? And you'll see that there's a huge gap between who you actually are and what you are demonstrating. So you must address this. Otherwise, there's no point in you studying CIMA, you know, winning awards, getting into companies, and then after that you suddenly find yourself that, you know, people don't have an identity of you. I mean, I'm not going to go through this, but all I'm saying is that I like you to go and do a little bit of research. Today's youngsters are very, very knowledgeable. You guys are up on IT, you know, everything you do as you speak, you must be Googling who I am. You might be seeing photos of me when I was chairman of Sri Lanka Tourism and Sri Lanka Export Development Board, maybe the different places that I've spoken. And you must be asking, does this guy have the right to speak to me? I mean, that's the kind of person you are today. So please remember that building a brand is a process. You know, you need to ask yourself, why are you in this country? What is your purpose? Ask yourself on what your core values are. Are you a person who is put down on the ground and you can get up and walk every day? Are you a person who who believes in governance and every day looking at all the dogs which are outside who are getting abused, or looking after the environment? Are you that kind of a person? Or are you a particular, demonstrating a sports kind of an image where you're seen as a person who works hard? You're not a winner, but you like to work hard. That's how you see. So look at your core values on who you are, so that then based on those core values only, you'll pick up your pictures and stories that you host on all the meta platforms. And then you will ask yourself what your strengths are and what kind of skills you demonstrate, and slowly you will start developing a process. So my last slide is build your personal brand. Think a little bit about it. I'm not asking you to remember everything what I have told you today, but if there's one thing, is this last slide, which happens to be build your personal brand. Thanks, Kavishan.
Thank you, Doctor.
Kavishan, you there?
Yes, Doctor, sorry. So thank you very much. Yes. So you spoke about the process of building that brand, but how can one evaluate the performance of that brand they've built? It's about the recognition, or
very simple, Kavishan. I actually, the best evaluation of your brand happens to be your parents. When you go and host something crazy, or you behave a bit irregular, the first thing that your parents come and say is, why do you do that? So you find that the people around you are the best evaluators. Your friends, whom sometimes you hate because they are very honest to you, they are the people who are the most critical in the things you do, and that's the feedback that you get to see yourself whether what you're saying is right. If there's one small advice I want to give you guys, is that don't ever try to be what you're not. End of the day, we are all human. We have our strong points and we also have our weaknesses. And if you promise something to the world in any platform you say, or any media you go and talk to, you got to in the next week spend your time and deliver that promise. And then you again go and talk. If you don't have this thing of talking, delivering kind of a mechanism, you cannot build your brand.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. And as you said, I think it's very correct when you said, like, your personal brand is how you see yourself and how others see yourself. And cross-section between that is your personal brand. And it was very interesting when you said, first understand your core values and then fit your skills into that in building your brand. Very valuable, sir. Thank you very much. Great. I think we have come to the conclusion of our session. So all our speakers have spoken. And just remind you again that this webinar is co-hosted by CIMA Sri Lanka and Yasaara Technologies Private Limited. And Lanka is another product offered by Yasaara Technologies. And we'll have a quick look at this pioneering data analytics platform. And then we can move on to our Q&A session. Great. So now let's move on to the Q&A session. I think first, when Zahara was talking to us, there were two questions which came our way. Can we do it like a course after O-levels? I think you addressed that. I think this was the special program. You just want to brief on that, Zahara? So just to...
So for ages, anyone above 16 was able to do CIMA. So that's why we've had lots of, maybe not a lot, but there were those who had completed by 18 and then moved into careers and so on. And they've been like, stars. And right now they're like CFOs, C-level. So 16 plus anyone can do. And I noticed there was another question whether after London O-levels you can do. So I am a product of that stream of education. So I've done my London O-level A-levels and I embarked on CIMA right after. So that's why, at a short age, we can actually climb the career ladder much more faster. So yes, you can do.
Great. Thank you. And I think there's another question. Can the slides be shared? I also wanted that. So please share the slides. It was very informative, I guess. Please feel free to share the slides. And I think we have another question for Mr. Conrad. What are the job roles that would become obsolete in the future due to technology? I think we touched upon that, Ms. Dias, just to refresh.
Yeah, I think it's actually more than the job roles. I mean, there are certain jobs certainly disappear. If you really look at it long years ago, probably there would have been jobs for even the milkman who delivered the milk and all that. I don't think that you see them now. So there are a lot of other jobs that which was there that which has completely move out of the world. But at the same time, with the technology, of course, I would say the job role, some of the roles will remain, but you may have to perform in a differently. Whether it's, I think there are talks about with the AI-driven technology coming in, if you can define your role or job in terms of your day in a task base 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, that job will definitely be, it can be automated and may not exist. So I think, so the roles that if you are looking at, if you look at traditionally accountants used to do reconciliations, the bank reconciliation. Today, the technologies like RPA can take over that job and reconcile and give a result for them to act on it. But the accountant's responsibility will remain. You can't change, give the responsibility to a technology, but it's the role that the task that you do will be automated in most of the time. So I think, of course, with intelligence, you may be able to give much more additional task or intelligent task to a technology rather than so the role, in my view, to a certain extent, it will remain, but the role may be redefined or transformed as we speak. So that would be a better
to look at it. Yes, definitely.
Rather than just saying.
I remember when.
If you want, Zahara, anything to that. And I'm sure Rohantha also can add a lot with his experience.
Yeah, there are exciting roles out there. I mean, the role of accountant is changing, right? Because just like what Conrad explained, we need to make use of the machines, the technology, but we bring the value. Because end of the day, you need the human beings to kind of, bring out creative ideas and then feed it into that, right? So we as humans can bring out value and use the machines to do the rest of it.
Great, thank you.
Today, I think the pilot's job is at the most stake. If you really look at it, today the pilots are not actually flying a plane except for landing and taking off. So that has happened already, but it doesn't mean that the pilots have been removed. That human factor is still there to a great extent.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, Ms. Dias.
See, if I add
Yasaara,
something,
yeah, sure. Sorry, doctor. Yes, please.
See, what a lot of people forget is that you have all the technology in the world, but end of the day, you have to ask, why does a consumer buy your brand? And that could be understood only by another human being. I mean, I run an AI company out of Bangalore. We study brand mapping of, across the region. And we bring all the technology to the table and the insights of what the consumer want. But end of the day, the manager who is in the other side of the table has to ask, what do I offer from a company to a consumer? And that decision has to be made by you. So technology is good, but always remember that it's you who add actually value to making a difference to this consumer. And who is this consumer? This consumer is your mom and dad. It's your younger brother and your elder sister, So you need to ask yourself, how do I add value to them? So you might know all the technology in the world, But when you go home and ask them, they must see that value in the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. And we have a question for Yasaara as well. Can we study a diploma in psychology and become a psychologist? That's the fast way of.
So to call yourself a psychologist, you need at least an undergraduate degree. Of course, with a diploma, you can, explore the area of psychology and learn different aspects of psychology and the different subject areas. But I would say it depends on the country as well. In countries like, again, the UK, Canada, and Australia, you need to at least have a master's degree to be a registered psychologist.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have another interesting question. What is the future outlook for Sri Lanka in terms of talent with skilled labor looking at migration? I think the brain drain we are talking about here. Is there a positive narrative with more opportunities for the middle class in SL with the upper class migrating? I think it's the middle class migrating as well. It's a exodus, I would say, when it comes to brain drain. Dr. Rohantha, would you like to touch upon that, and we can get the other participants to look at that as well? The positive narrative, what we are talking about here.
See, guys, I of course love when people go abroad, because we have worked in multinational companies all our lives. So go out there, get your skill set up, and come back to Sri Lanka. That's my view. I wouldn't ever tell anyone not to go. Secondly, is that those who have decided to stay in Sri Lanka, people like Conrad, Zahara, and Yasaara, and yourself, Kavishan. I mean, whatever we decided, we are going to be in Sri Lanka. We're going to make it out here. So what do? We look at all the opportunities which are there, and there's so much of opportunities. Yes, our economy has declined by 7.8% last year. This time it's going to shrink by 4%. But then the question is, there are so many sectors doing so good. Look at LOLC results. I mean, look at Zahara's results at CIMA. So there are sectors which are doing fantastic. I mean, if you take Yasaara's business, I mean, people are all wanting a personal coaching and training. Now psychologists does not have to be only doing guys who are nuts. I mean, all of us need psychological training and coaching to be better. So all these industries are doing good. I mean, Kavishan, if you take your industry, I mean, to get you here today, you have to be booked at least 2 weeks before, otherwise you're booked up by somebody else. So there's so much of opportunity in Sri Lanka, which is $70 billion worth. All you have to do is to ask yourself, where do you fit in this economy? And you will see that because many people have gone abroad, your value is amazing. I mean, sometimes jobs which normally a 28-year-old is taking is today shouldered by people who are 23 years old, and the guys are actually pulling their hair out and saying, how do I cope with it? But then that's a talent, that's an opportunity you've got. Take it. I mean, I was just 29 years old when I was appointed chairman of the Export Development Board, and I didn't know what they were doing even. When I went there, I was sitting on the other side of the table because I was scared to sit on the chair because it was too big for me. But then you learn, and you grow, so
there's a
every
saying first say yes and then learn the subject.
If you like to go abroad, please take it. And anyone who goes abroad, I mean, believe me, you will always come back to Sri Lanka, because we have seen this. It's not an emotional statement, but what the quality of life that Sri Lanka gives, you don't get it anywhere in the world. So that's okay. Go there, get yourself trained, and come back.
Great. You can be wherever you are, but Sri Lanka is where the heart is. Exactly. Thank you, Doctor. And we have another question. What if it's hard for one to know what his or her skill set is or skills are? How do you identify them so you are able to know where you want to go in the future? Mr. Dias, would you like to?
Just to first add on to what Rohantha said, I think every calamity brings a lot of opportunities for everyone. As long as you can keep your eyes open, what to do and where to do, and focus is very important, right? So I think it's up to our person. I think Rohantha's personal brand makes a lot of sense in that way, where do you create and how do you look at the things, problems is very important in terms of creating that opportunity. So answering the second question, I'm sure others also can contribute. Can you just repeat that again, Kavishan?
Yeah. What if it's hard for one to know what his or her skills are? How do you identify them? I think identify them early on, so you are able to know where you want to go in the future. Yeah.
Okay. In my view, there are two things, right? So we are not born with skills; we acquire skills over the period, right? So it's up to what I of course followed is my passion, right? So I actually am an accountant by profession, being a CIMA member, but my passion was towards technology from the day one, right? So from the smaller days itself, that I used to have the early computer was a Commodore 64 computer, which I don't think anyone has heard about it even, right? So it's that the passion that I had. So I always say my profession is accountancy, my passion is technology, right? So that's how that I get into this. So as long as you can identify what is your passion, and then identifying your make yourself the skills around it, I think you will be a very successful person. I'm sure Rohantha is another passionate marketeer and a passionate person in terms of many areas that he has created his passion as his success story for sure. So I think all of us are like that. So I think it's don't worry about what skills that you have.
Exactly.
What you have to worry about is what skills that you want to acquire.
Definitely.
I
Very
think,
nice.
Kavishan, if
Yes,
I add, Kavishan, to what Conrad was saying, it's a very interesting question that was asked. If you ask me, honestly speaking, the way that our education system is made in Sri Lanka, none of us know what actually we are good at. That's the honest truth. Okay. So the best thing that you can do is join a company as a management trainee. All this education that you get, let's say you're a CIMA graduate, you must, that is a passport for you to get your first job. Try to get into a management training job so that you can go and see the whole company. So if you join a Unilever or Reckitt or whatever, I mean, what we did was we went through from sales to marketing to production to quality assurance. And I remember, I was sent as a sales rep for 6 months. I had to shop, I had to sell soaps from one retail outlet to another. I mean, if you ask Vattala and Kiribati, all the shops, I know all the Budalaris also. And I got chased out for putting more stocks than what they want. But that's the training you get. So all I'm saying is that just get your experience in whatever skill set that you have. And suddenly after that, you'll find yourselves. I mean, I have seen people who are third-year medical students who went as a management trainee to an organization and went up to becoming a CEO of MAS. I have a friend who is a qualified double accountant, and today she's one of the top brand marketing people in the country. So it's very sad, but that's the truth. Our education system doesn't build us to a particular area that we vision out to be, and we don't know who we are. Sometimes we have to find ourselves in a company. So I think my simple advice: try to get in as a brand manager, as a management trainee, and then find yourselves in the organization. And the second thing is, when you're in the company, if you get a job opportunity which is outside your core area, right, go and do it. Just take it. Sometimes you might say, I don't have the skill set, but just you go out there and do it. I remember once when I was at Reckitt, I was appointed as a demand manager to have to go and work in India. And it was a finance related job, not a marketing related. But then the experience I got was like, I mean, it really changed the way I think. So just go and do it, and that's my view.
Great. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Kavishan, if I can add a little bit.
Yes, please.
To the previous question on accountants' jobs as well, right? So I qualified as an accountant myself, but my passion was in marketing. And I have grown across. I did a little bit of finance because I firmly believe that without finance, I wouldn't see a huge success, mainly because if you know finance, no one can fool you. I mean, any job, anywhere, even if you're an engineer, you need to have a little bit of a finance understanding so that you know what's happening out there and you know your numbers, you know how to read it properly. So for me, I got that and I moved into business and I got into my passion, which is marketing and branding. And I absolutely love what I do. So like Rohantha said, do something that you're passionate about, and it's not also about collecting qualifications.
Exactly. We have a question on that as well. So I think
Yeah.
to
In
answer.
the recent past, given the great resignation, the great reset, and all of that, there will come an opportunity, even if you're at work, for you to pivot into a different career, completely different career. Be open to that.
Exactly.
Things are not set in stone.
Definitely. Change will be the only constant, I guess. So we have to keep changing as well that way. Great. I think we have one last question. What are the job categories that can help foreign revenue by being based within Sri Lanka? So we are talking about the brain drain, the great exodus and all. So what can we do to generate that income being within Sri Lanka without moving? Because we know that people have commitments and other things. How can one base here in Sri Lanka and do it? I think even Yasaara's, even Ms. Dias's industries, I think there are so many things that you can provide these services.
Definitely, yes. I think via online education, already teachers are doing this. They are, earning while being at home and being employed in companies which are offshore. So I think that would be one of the ways that you can generate revenue. And also educational bodies such as PCHE. So when we, have these pathway programs for students, they can complete at least part of the program in Sri Lanka. So we are saving, foreign,
yeah.
And also when they move abroad, universities pay the organization,
Exactly.
so that they can generate as well.
Thank you, Yasaara. Thank you. Ms. Dias?
I just want to add something. I think this is a great opportunity for Sri Lanka to showcase themselves. I think as you are aware, there are accountants who are providing that kind of roles, jobs now. And there are technology guys, the software engineers. There's a lot of technology solutions are being done at their homes now, right? So whether it's a quality assurance job or a software engineering job, or I think Zahara mentioned in her presentation about the cloud technologies, the cloud architects and all that. So there are a lot of jobs which are there that you could get into and give yourself. So I think this is an area that currently the software exports are touching about $1.2 billion in the market in the country. But I think this is an area that we could stop the brain drain to a greater extent. Exactly. And create the foreign revenue to Sri Lanka if you market ourselves properly to a greater extent. I think we need people like Dr. Rohantha Athukorala to market that in terms of the technology area, right? So I think that's something that which we could bring. There are a lot of I know that a lot of people during the pandemic time, even in Sri Lanka, even in our organization, our IT organization, they left and they are now doing work from home, because work from home has become one of the easiest thing to do. There are people who are working in Australia who are working for US companies, right? So that is a trend that which was brought in from pandemic. So I think that's a great opportunity for Sri Lankans, and there are a lot of jobs around it that you can do. So I think that we need to, as a country, I think we need to work on it as a marketing ourselves and our knowledge. I think the knowledge economy. So I think that's where the individuals like who are participating in this, the youngsters play a key role.
Yes, I think that concludes the future of careers as well. Yeah. Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. Yeah.
See, I just want to say something, guys. Most of you guys who are listening here, ladies and gentlemen, must be from finance background. Today, the calamity that we are faced in this country is all because of poor financial management. And I'm sorry to say, but a lot of people who are in finance are responsible for today's situation that we are faced in corruption. So you have to be the person who is known to bad practices. Have the guts to do it. In ERP package, myself and my CEO, we both refused. He's right now the CEO of Ceylon Brewery, and he was a former ex-Ceylon Tobacco guy. We just gave our resignation. We didn't even take the company vehicle. We just took a trishaw and went home. Why? Because we want to tell the people, guys, stop this. So you all have to be the people who say no. The reason why we are today in this corrupt situation in this country is because our expenditure is more than our income, in simple words. And today somebody else from abroad has to come and tell us, please put your books in order, make sure that your income and your expenditure matches, whether it be the foreign loans or the local way of running the country. So January, we had a income of 158 billion rupees from my revenue. Our expenditure was about 225 billion, so they've been asked, they've been told, guys, you all have to shape up. So in my view, the best leveling point for this country is today, and we are at tipping point, and it's going to be hard. Whenever IMF comes, the poor gets affected a lot, but that's okay. We have to run through this because it's a mistake that we all have done, right? Now, the question is that you will see that Sri Lanka has to grow out of this crisis. I repeat, we have to grow out of this crisis. And like what Conrad was saying, the ICT industry exports about 1.8 billion, and we are targeting it to be 5 billion. The tourism industry is going to be 5 billion. This year, we'll hit about $3 billion, all are in dollars. Our export industry, which is 12 billion, has to be between 15 to 18 billion in the next 3 years. And that's the only way that we can get out of this crisis. So we have to grow out of this crisis, and y'all who are 18 to 21 years old, get yourself quickly qualified, get into a job as quickly as possible. Don't wait for your dream job. As soon as the door opens, join in. But your acid test of the job is make sure that your boss is a good boss. My first boss was absolutely brilliant on governance and proper skills and proper training. So make sure that your boss is a good boss, get into a job, and then you'll start moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. As you said, we are in a crisis, but that won't stop you. It's when it gets tough, the tough should get going. So, and what they say is never let a good crisis go waste. So develop your skills, equip yourself for the future, and go for it. So that's a wrap for today, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that it was a very fruitful session for all of you, which covered a gamut of areas which you can use in developing yourselves to fit into those future careers. Thank you very much for our esteemed panelists for your time. CIMA Sri Lanka and Yasaara Technologies for co-sponsoring the webinar, and the media partner Daily FT for all the support, and the great audience for all the good questions which came our way. And I think we had so many questions coming in for CIMA and Yasaara as well for PCHE. So please get in touch with them and equip yourself with the best in town. Thank you very much. That's it for us from today.